Hi, my name is Brenda. I work as a nurse practitioner in Hogeweyk in the Netherlands. And I'm here today. I've been invited to speak about Hogeweyk, how work is organized, but mainly what it means to me as a nurse practitioner to work in such an environment. At the end of my presentation, there will be enough time for you to ask me any questions. The other way. Hogeweyk really is a small village. The village resembles a world that is as normal as possible. You will find 23 small-scale homes in the village, for each 6 to 7 residents. The homes are also divided amongst different areas within the village. Residents there can roam around on normal streets with shops, hairdressers, cafes, and other people to meet. This concept is based on the integration of living, well-being, and care, and all this supported by professionals and volunteers. To understand more of what it means to me as an employee to work in such an environment, I would like to share my story. 12 years ago, I switched profession. I went from hairdresser to becoming a nurse. My first work experience was learning to care for people with dementia. The place I worked at there, they cared for 14 residents. The residents shared the bedrooms, 2 to 3 persons per bedroom. The living room and kitchen were open plan, and there was a block of bathrooms centered in the middle for the residents to roam around in circles when feeling restless. Working there, I can remember feeling closed in, and this huge front door where residents could leave their home if supervised. This door was placed 2 to 3 meters from the living room and part of the open plan setup. To open the door, we needed to dial a code that was placed next to the door and visible for the residents, which meant we had to cover our hand while pressing the code to avoid that the residents would see so, walk out the door straight into society and be unprotected. I have heard residents say, "I feel like a prisoner here. I'm not allowed to do anything, and I want to leave." To me, it didn't feel right. I was actually depriving a person of the choice to leave their own home. After 6 months, my work experience there was finished, and I started to train to care more for people with physical needs like illnesses of MS and Parkinson. So I moved to another care home. In that care home, the residents did have their own apartment. They had their own bathroom, their own kitchen, and they had a lot of privacy because of this, with care close by. At the bottom floor of that care home, there were 6 small-scale homes for residents with dementia, each for 6 to 7 residents. It was divided into 3 homes here, 3 homes there, with a garden in the middle. I thought it was an improvement compared to what I had experienced before. But even though the residents could leave their front door, they were limited to just this garden, and there was a pond in the middle. I could observe the residents from upstairs, and I could see them standing at the fence at the bottom of the garden, where they could watch people doing their shopping, cycling by, or just having a walk. To me, I could see sometimes the residents trying to climb over this fence. I thought, they're standing there watching life as it is, but they weren't allowed to join it. As my curiosity grew to learn more about dementia, I started looking for a workplace where I could do so. I wanted to learn more about dementia, but also feel comfortable doing so. A friend of mine had told me about Hogeweyk. They were organizing an open day. So I attended that day and was surprised by its settings. It really is a small village. Life carries on within the village. I didn't see huge front doors with codes to press, or a fence where residents could watch life as it is, but not join it. So I applied for a job. I was taken on as a care nurse. After 6 months, I was encouraged to study for nurse, and after that for nurse practitioner. So I've been able to experience working in the different levels of nursing, and I must admit I have enjoyed all levels there. But what makes it so appealing to me to work in this environment? It's the purpose. Changing the way dementia is approached to increase quality of life. It's the vision, living life as normal as possible. To reach the goal of minimizing confusion and other symptoms of dementia. Scientific research has shown that being able to exercise, being out in the fresh air and daylight, feeling the different seasons from winter to summer, having view of nature, having social contacts within familiar surroundings, and living in small groups does minimize symptoms of confusion, fear, agitation, and even aggression. But how do we reach this goal? We reach it by deinstitutionalizing. Having surroundings that resembles a normal world. Normality. Roaming around on normal streets. Living in a home where you have a bedroom, a living room, a kitchen, and a bathroom. Where normal household activities are going on a daily basis. The choice. Residents have a choice. There are no set bedtimes. Even meal times can be flexible. There is no door where they can't leave. They can walk out the door when they want to and be safe. Self-being. I don't only see the resident as they are now, I also see the resident as they were before dementia. As a nurse, this is especially important when health declines and questions arise in what to do. Are we going to treat this illness, or are we going to let nature take its course? What would the resident have wanted before dementia? Do we have a written consent noting their wishes? I will now take you through Hogeweyk to show you what I mean. Entering Hogeweyk, you arrive at the theatre square. Here you see 3 residents sitting at the fountain. Let me find it. Yeah, sitting at the fountain. They seem to be enjoying it. These 3 residents come from a different area within the village. You see a normal cafe in the corner, and the theatre itself stands a bit at the back here, where shows and concerts are organized, and sometimes even bingos for the residents. Outdoor, there's enough space to organize like barbecues or other outdoor activities in summertime. Leaving the square, you can go on to the boulevard. This street leads to a different area within the village. You see here the couple. This lady, she used to live with us, has now sadly passed away. But she would be picked up by her husband almost on a daily basis. He would cycle into Hogeweyk, go to her home, she'd get on the bike, and together they would cycle out and have a ride around the neighborhood. You can also leave the theatre square and enter the passage. At the top part of the passage, that's where the offices are, where we work from. At the bottom part, that's the entry to the cafe, the restaurant. Here we've got the supermarket, and here another place where activities are being held. But also leaving the passage, there are 2 ways to arrive in different areas within the village. This is one of them. We call this the big square. On the square, on each corner, there's a home. You can also see that there's a normal street going straight through this area, and residents sitting outside enjoying the sun. We also have an upper part of the square. Also here, we've got 4 homes on each corner. They're connected to each other by the bridge, and with the balcony, the residents have the opportunity to sit out in summertime. Often you'll see that the residents will stand on the bridge and look over and watch activities going on down below. But to enter, going from down to the above part of the square, you need to use the elevator. When a resident approaches the elevator, it opens up automatically. This invites the resident to step in. Once in the elevator, it takes you down or up, whichever way you go, and it will automatically open again. So residents don't have to use any buttons to operate the elevator so they won't get stuck in or even more confused. This is another area within the village, also with 4 homes at each corner. It's called the Pond Park. There's a few benches seated around the Pond Park where the residents can sit and enjoy nature. In springtime, we often see ducks with their little ones pondering around in the village. Normality, being able to do your shopping like you used to. This is one of the residents who's filled her trolley, and she's been assisted by one of the carers. This supermarket is a normal supermarket. The only big difference in the supermarket is that there's no money exchange. This is not to confuse the residents having to deal with money. And of course, some of the residents will say, "Can I have all this and not pay for it?" And the cashier will then explain that she also has no money and that she'll make a note of it and it will be taken care of. Usually that's enough for the residents to be satisfied and carry on. Living in a home where there's normal household activities going on. Here is a photo of one of the carers, and she's encouraging one of the residents to join in to prepare the evening meal, or do a hobby, what they used to do before, like sewing. Meals are cooked in a normal kitchen. This brings smell of food within the home, which also increases appetite. Having a choice, being able to go into the fridge, take something out which you would like, just like you would do before you moved. This resident is known to roam around a lot in the village. And here she's been invited by one of the social coaches to have a break in her wanders. Or maybe you just want to sit and read your paper. This paper is specially delivered to this lady on a daily basis. And this other lady just enjoying the sun as it is. Self-being. Living in small groups with similar lifestyles helps to normalize life. In Hogeweyk, we know 7 lifestyles. We know the urban, the homely, the cultural, the Indonesian, affluent, traditional, and Christian lifestyle. What is lifestyle? Lifestyle is who you are. It's what you eat, what you drink, what religion you practice or you don't, and how you communicate with others. Before residents come to live in Hogeweyk, a lifestyle is chosen. This is done in combination of a digital lifestyle test, advice from family, and a view of the homes. Just to show you a bit of the difference of the lifestyles in the homes, the top one shows the lifestyle of an Indonesian home. You see that the furniture is quite plain there, in comparison to an affluent lifestyle, where it's more luxurious. But of course, it's not only the furniture that counts, it's also how meals are served. An Indonesian lifestyle knows twice daily a warm meal. The meals are served in small bowls. In comparison to an affluent lifestyle, where they know high teas and brunches and really well-set tables. A comparison to an urban lifestyle or a cultural lifestyle. In an urban lifestyle, you usually find lots of family joining in. There's lots of games played. There's magazines read, and sometimes TV on. In a cultural lifestyle, when you step into one of those homes, I always find it really colorful. There's lots of craft works to be seen, sculptures and paintings, and you often see here the piano playing. Being able to be yourself. This gentleman used to be a farmer. After his hard day's work, he'd go out to his barn and he'd smoke a cigar. Living in the village, he carries on doing a similar thing. Or being able to socialize. A resident here, the resident here with his son having a toast in the restaurant within the village. Family are encouraged to participate in the life of their loved ones. They can join in any activities going on in the home or around the home. Here you see another resident enjoying painting with one of the volunteers. But for all this to be a protected environment, the receptionist operates a secure door to and from the village. Just to show you what the village looks like from the outside, I've added the street view. This is the entrance to the village. But how is care organized? Professionals working in the village must remind themselves that they are working for the purpose. Changing the way dementia is approached to increase quality of life. According to the vision, living life as normal as possible, to achieve the goal of minimizing confusion and other symptoms of dementia. And parallel to this, palliative care is given, which is based on comfort, not on cure. And all this in constantly changing circumstances. To explain a bit more how the work goes in the village, I've placed the home in the middle here. All homes are self-organizing, which means they organize the care and the running of the home amongst themselves. Each home, the team has 2 care nurses, a care nurse plus, and a home supporter. In the Netherlands, we know different levels of caring up to nursing. We start at 2 and we go up to 5. A care nurse has been trained to perform certain amounts of nursing tasks, but mainly caring tasks. A care nurse plus has the increased responsibility to draw up care plans after a multidisciplinary meeting. She also keeps the contact person of the resident informed of any changes in their well-being. Once the care plan has been drawn up, the whole team is responsible to perform the task and agreements that's drawn up in it. A home supporter hasn't got any nursing or caring skills. Their work are mainly based on housekeeping chores. You will find that they often help in preparing the meal and helping serving the meal to the residents. We know the care nurse assistant. The care nurse assistant only has caring skills. She works in one of the areas within the village. She'll organize her work by ringing the homes, usually 4 homes, and finding out where there's extra help needed in care. They keep in close contact with each other by mobile phone. We know the physician. The physician is responsible for the all-round medical care within the village. But due to the shortage of physicians and the increasing amount of elderly needing care in the Netherlands, the position of nurse practitioner has been created. The nurse practitioner, she performs 60% of the physician's medical tasks needed for specified residence groups, like the COPD, the diabetes, the heart failure, and the wound care. The nurse practitioner also performs triage. She attends meetings, educates carers and nurses, and she works on projects to increase quality of care. We are often seen as a bridge between the carer and the physician. The psychologist and the social coach, they work alongside each other, similar to that of the physician and the nurse practitioner. The social coach screens and monitors any behavior difficulty of the residents. She will then advise the team or anyone who needs advice in how to approach the resident to their needs. The social coach is not there to change the behavior of the resident, but aims for changing how the surroundings approach the resident. We know the staff nurse. She works in evenings and on weekends when the nurse practitioners aren't there. She organizes the staff during her shift and sometimes performs triage. The homes, they close up at 11:15 at night. This is the only time the door will be locked. By that time, the night team has arrived. There's 5 working in the night team. They divide the work that's needed in the village amongst them. And one of them, they take turns, works at reception and operates an acoustic listening system. This system tracks all sounds and movement within the home. So if she sees that there's movement in one of the homes, she can contact a carer in the village and ask to go and check if help is needed. We also know the coach. He or she helps the home teams for any difficulties in organizing the care or the running of the home. And of course, the physiotherapist can be called in when necessary. But how does this work? A typical day. A carer notices a problem or a change in the well-being of the resident, and she can't deal with it herself. She'll contact the nurse practitioner. If the resident doesn't need to be seen straight away, this will be done by email. If the resident does have to be seen on that same day, the nurse practitioner will be rung on her mobile phone. All nurse practitioners have a certain amount of homes that they're responsible for, depending on the hours they work. If the resident has to be seen immediately, the emergency line will be rung. One of the nurse practitioners always carries the emergency line next to her own phone. She will then visit the resident, do her triage, bring out advice, and if necessary, contact other professionals and inform the physician. After that, a report is written. But you do understand that good communication is a must for this to work. For me, working in the village has taught me that people with dementia have an increased quality of life, living in a world that is as normal as possible and protected and supported by professionals. If there are any questions you would like to ask me, there's now time. Yes?
Please, if you use the microphone. Maybe I will speak louder.
I heard, where is it? Yeah.
I would like to know where exactly is this village located, and it's very difficult to get in, and how does the pay system work?
It's in the middle of the village Weesp. It's just, I mean, the football fields are next to it. There's a block of apartments next to it. It's just placed right in the middle of the village itself. Yeah. It's a village within a village. Yeah. No? No, not at all. I've never seen a queue, no. You can just, to be able to get in, the staff all have a key, a special key that they get in. Oh, in that way, as a resident. Yeah. No, it's not difficult. To start with, it's available for everyone. It doesn't matter in which form of society you're in. You always have the right to come and live in Hogeweyk. It's not dependent on your income or your fortune. You can live there. What they do in Holland is that if someone has care need, they're being screened and they have a level from 1 to 10. If you come up to a level 5, I mean, it's all medically examined and everything to see what you need. Well, dementia is usually a 5. Then it means you have the right to live in one of the care homes. Then you can give your preference to which care home you want to live in. And if that is Hogeweyk, you come on a list, and usually it takes up to 12 months before you can be placed there. So everyone can move there if they would like, yeah? Within the whole of Holland.
Yes, and the last question is that, is this a unique home village, or do you have several of those in Holland?
Not villages. We have several homes that are small-scaled, but usually small-scaled, and it can vary from 6 to 7 or 14 residents per home, but it's not within a village. I mean, the resident does not walk out there and enter a normal life like you've seen on the slides with normal streets and parks and squares. That's the biggest difference, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome.
Okei, ihan huomautuksena, että käyttäkää mikkiä, koska muuten tuonne videointiin ei kuulu teidän kysymykset. Et Marjukka tuolta tuo mikin ja mä käännän sitten tarvittaessa, jos haluatte sanoa suomeksi. Niin. Ja mä oon itse myöskin käynyt tuolla paikassa ihan semmoisena sivuhuomautuksena. I just told them I've also been to Hogeweyk, so.
Yeah.
I'm Anne Metzelä.
Hi.
Isn't it true we must knowing why some people have dementia? Why don't you want understanding the reasons to dementia as mental, alive body and dead body violent? So too many people don't want remember.
They don't want to be reminded of dementia.
Yes.
That's what you mean.
And I think the village which we see, it's one kind of prisoner. And one slide you mention different lifestyle,
Yeah.
as Christian lifestyle. Christian lifestyle is mafia criminal organization lifestyle. All over the world, inside United Nations, IMF, ISS.
But if you think of the Christian lifestyle, you've always lived your life within a Christian lifestyle. In Holland, we know that most Christians pray before mealtime. Just imagine that you've lived like that all your life. You've been used to praying before meals. And you come to live in an environment that's completely ignored. Would that make you feel safe?
Who pays this kind of bills?
Sorry?
Who pays this kind of bills?
Who paid? Who pays for it? For this place?
What cost and who pays?
The government. It's a social security where everyone pays into. And you've got the right to live there? Yes?
No right.
No right? You don't think so? Okay.
I know that.
Okay, next question. Lisa has a question. Yeah.
Can the residents have visitors whenever they want to?
Yes, 24 hours.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
excellent.
Usually nighttime doesn't happen that often, but if it's the last phase of the resident's life, that they'll soon be passing away, we often see family there with them. And then we add an extra bed so they can be with them in their own room. Yeah.
She's getting exercise while she works.
Good, yeah.
What kind of physical condition do people need to, live there? If you can't move a lot or.
Well, surprisingly, no, of course, there are some residents that sit in their wheelchair, that don't move around, and others need, trolleys to walk, or walking frames. But there are a lot of residents that love to wander around, to be free to wander around. And I have experienced residents that want to wander around, that are restless. Just imagine yourself when you're restless. Well, speaking of myself, when I'm restless, I want to wander. I tend to want to walk. And that happens the same with the resident. And that's why I showed you one of the photos of the one lady who roams around a lot. Well, she'll be encouraged then by a social coach or anyone working in the village, because we're all responsible for this, to stop the resident and invite them to have a break. Summertime, it's out on the bench. In wintertime, when it's colder, you can do that inside in the cafe or the restaurant. But we all look out to see that the resident is comfortable, that they don't feel lost, that they're walking around feeling lost. We'll help them then. It's all our responsibility.
How big area is this, the village?
Pardon?
How large area?
It's 12,000 square meters, which is equivalent to just over 2 football fields. Yeah. Are there any more questions?
Lisää kysymyksiä. Voi tosiaan kysyä suomeksikin, ei tarvitse ujostella sitä, että pitäisi keksiä hieno englanninkielinen käännös kysymykselleen.
I would like to ask
Where is this? Oh,
here
hi.
about the point of view of personal.
Yeah.
Is it easy to recruit people there, nurses and other
No.
stuff?
but that's nowhere in Holland. It's not easy. The care nurse that I've explained that has learned a certain amount of nursing skills next to her caring skills, that's like, maybe should explain a bit more. We have the levels of nursing from 2 to 5. The level 2 is just a carer. She doesn't have any nursing skills. A level 3 are the care nurses who do have a certain amount of nursing skills, like they're allowed to give medicine, do some nursing skills in bringing in catheter? No, yeah, doing some nursing skills anyway. I can't translate it exactly. But not all of them, but enough to run the home. And she's a level 3. Now, if you have the Care Nurse Plus, she has an extra part of training to draw up care plans. And after that, you've got the staff nurses, which is a level 4. And they perform the triage. They're more trained in doing that sort of thing as well. And they support the homes by any nursing skills needed, which the home can't do themselves. And after that, it's the nurse practitioner. And the care nurse, which can also be a Care Nurse Plus or care nurse, it's hard to get. Yeah. So you can imagine 23 homes, a team built up of 3 care nurses, and one of them to Care Nurse Plus. It's not always easy, no.
Well, I'm going to ask you a question too, because when I was visiting, and your colleague Inga, she told me that you get a lot of training also in how to deal with people with dementia and like behavior training and things like that. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, we do that. Well, actually, it's even a must. You don't have that choice, but most people that choose to work with dementia want the choice. And you have to do training, at least training about what is dementia, what it does to the person. You have to go to a training every year, another training every 2 years. Same as with nursing skills, you have to keep constantly in training. The social coaches, they organize a lot of talking about dementia and what it does with the resident, because it has so much to do with your behavior and how they're approached.
I would like to ask what happens when the inhabitants, the patients, they get worse, because dementia, it's a progressive disease. What happens if they can't eat anymore, or they don't know where they live, they can't live there? Should they move away, or?
No. If they come to live in Hogeweyk, that's their last place up. They will be living. And we're constantly monitoring and screening together. I mean, the physicians, the psychologists, nurse practitioners, social coaches, we all work together to see what we can do when their health does decline to help them a step further. And even the last bit, I mean, it's like I said, palliative care is given, but it's based on comfort, not on cure. Everyone coming to live in Hogeweyk cannot be cured. So what do? We look at how can we make life as comfortable as possible. And that's what we do with all the professionals together until the end. Yeah.
Could you tell us a little bit more also about the organization itself? You have one director, and then how does that?
I'm not great in telling you about all that.
No, just the general, like.
Yeah, there's a director, and she's within certain homes within the care group. It's like a care group where there's different homes within the Netherlands. Hogeweyk is one of them. The director, she does all the homes that care for dementia. Under her, we've got a manager, a local manager, just for Hogeweyk itself. The level under that are the physician, psychologists, and the coaches. Go along, the coaches, you know, the coaches for the homes. It's a switch in task at the moment. There's reorganizing the whole system. So who used to be a manager is now becoming a coach for the teams to become self-organizing. And the level under the local manager. And then there's the professionals in physicians, psychologists, nurse practitioners, carers. Yeah. Is that what you meant?
Yeah, just like how many levels are needed to sort of run this whole place?
Yeah.
Not very many then.
Yeah. No.
Okay.
Any more? No?
Kysyn suomeksi, sä saat kääntää.
Yes.
I wanted to ask a question. How do you say? Sinulta. How did you like the place? What was the difference between this and the Finnish homes?
I wanted to sign up for the future. Like, can I already put my name somewhere so that when, or if I get dementia, can I just be wheeled in there and just live there for the rest of my days? It was a really nice place. Okay, I can explain a little bit in Finnish maybe, or do you want to hear?
No,
Yeah.
okay, yeah.
Joo, eli se oli oikeasti just ihan niin mainio paikka kuin miltä se kuulostaa. Eli mäkin ajattelin, että joo, niin varmaan, että ei siellä nyt ehkä ihan noin mahtavaa voi olla ja miten ne mukaan tämmöisen saanut aikaiseksi, mutta oli se kyllä, että siellä ihmiset vaelteli ihan tyytyväisen näköisinä ja aika monella tosiaan aika pitkälle edennyt se dementia, että ei välttämättä oikein tiennyt, missä he enää oli, mutta näyttivät hyvin tyytyväisiltä ja iloisilta ja just semmoinen normaali elämä, että he voi sinne mennä kahvioon ja ottaa siellä vaikka oluen, jos siltä tuntuu ja siellä oli omaisia käymässä, siellä on paljon toimintaa ja monia eri alueita ja tämä koti, missä käytiin, niin oli myöskin semmoinen tilava ja kiva ja ihan niin kuin jonkun olohuoneeseen olisi mennyt ja keittiö siinä ja tilavat kaikki hoitotilat sitten myöskin kuitenkin. Et ihan kaikki, voin sanoa, että kaikki mitä tuossa näitte, niin on ihan, ei ollut mitään photoshopattuja kuvia, että ihan totuudenmukaisesti. Voisin hyvin kuvitella haluavani asua tuommoisessa paikassa sitten, kun on vanha. Sellainen vaikutelma, että mitään laitosmaista siinä ei ollut muuta kuin se, että siellä todellakin niin kuin nämä asukkaat on turvassa, koska heillä on koko ajan kaikki henkilökunta tavallaan tietää, missä mennään ja kuka on kukakin, ja sieltä kaupasta ei pääse ostamaan 50 voipakettia, jos ei niitä tarvitse, vaan vähän sitten siinä sitäkin katsotaan, että hei, että kannattaisiko nyt vähän ostaa järkevämmin, mutta semmoista niin kuin normaalia elämää siellä.
I'm sure it's true what you've been saying.
Yeah, it was only good things, just confirming what you said. Well, Tiina had a question.
No niin, mä kysyn suomeksi, niin saat kääntää sitten. Lähinnä, että mikä työntekijöiden näkökulmasta on ehkä kaikkein haasteellisinta työskennellä tällaisessa paikassa ja sitten toisaalta palkitsevinta?
Okay, she wants to know what, from the point of view of working there, is the most challenging thing, or what's the most difficult thing, and then what is the most rewarding thing for people working there?
To me, the most rewarding thing, I'll start at the end, is actually what I try to explain, is not seeing people closed in, not deprived of their freedom, being approached to what they need. That's the awarding thing. One of the other awarding things, or challenging things, as a nurse, imagine if there's something's happened, a resident has fallen. I can't always rely on what the resident says. They will say, oh, it hurts here, well, their hip is broken. Or they won't feel that their hip is broken and still get up and walk, limp. But you've done all checks and you're almost convinced that it is broken, and then they won't feel pain. So, I mean, that's challenging, to not being able to just ask, what's the matter? Do you feel pain? Or do you feel this? Or can you tell me what's going on? You have to read the resident, check by the look in the eyes, check in the way they're moving, in their whole well-being, to judge and put in your care. That's a challenging thing, yeah. And like I said, because as an employee, I really wanted to learn more about dementia, but the thing that stopped me from doing so was being enclosed in environments. And this, I just feel free. I feel I'm learning, and I'm learning in a normal environment. Yeah. No more questions. May I ask you a question? Yeah? What's the first impression? What comes up in your mind after this presentation? thinking of freedom, choice, the things I've mentioned that makes it a nice place to work.
Ja jos nyt jollekin jäi epäselväksi, niin kysymys oli, että mitä tulee mieleen tästä, minkälainen vaikutelma nyt jää, kun ehkä kuulette tästä ensimmäistä kertaa, tästä vapaudesta ja valinnoista ja muusta, mitä siellä on.
I just wish all the nursing homes were like that.
So do I. Thank you.
I'm Anne Metzelä-Fruuta. As I said before, it's one kind of prison which is meaning mafia criminal organization members, we family members, put enough qualified people as normal people and take the prison as material so they can do what they just want to do and use a freedom. Question for you, what is freedom?
I think it would be good for you to visit Hogeweyk and see with your own eyes how it works there.
Otatko tämän?
Microphone.
Oh, good. Great.
Saada sut nauhalle myös sinne.
Ja täällä on kommentti sitten myöskin.
I thought that this is an incredible place, and I was wondering how could we place this kind of system in our country as a choice.
Yeah.
But I'm not professional in these kind of things. There are other ladies who know how to do this in our country, and I do hope that it will be a choice for in our country as well, because it seems to be pleasant place if you look at those faces, and so I was pleased to participate in this afternoon today to hear about it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. If there's any more information wanted. Oh, okay, great. Thanks.
Yeah, I'm Anneli Walden, and we truly believe in Koskela in this concept, and I'm soon going to tell you about how we are trying to provide this kind of place in Finland too.
Great, great, thank you. If there's any more information you would like, or you'd like to visit Hogeweyk yourself, you can find information by these websites. Thank you.